So I'm on the phone a lot with patients from all over the world, and I go to the clinics a lot, and I get a sort of reoccurring theme that I think it's very important that you understand this, because this tends to be why people don't get better. And it has a lot to do with what we talked about yesterday with patients that are doing the wrong exercises. And it has something to do with what we did on Monday about what the causes of back pain are. Because when you continue to do the wrong thing, you actually make it worse. And I see this, I hear this, I talk about this all the time. So it's really about what causes the herniated disc, because when you understand this, then you'll understand how to solve your problem. Because if you have back pain, it's not going away, there's a reason for it. We are the Illinois Back Institute. This is me right here. We treat herniated discs. We treat more than anybody, and I promise you we treat it better than anybody. It's not easy, but they get better. Been doing this for 25 years. It's a lot of years. 26,126 patients that we've learned from and treated successfully, over 500,000 treatments. These videos are educational. This is not a diagnosis. We do what we do because of what happened to me. I had a serious back problem. People are like, what was it looking like? This is my disc right here, okay? This disc should look like this disc. I smashed it. I had a trauma. It's technically herniated, but mine came from jumping off a cliff into water. It's a different story, but the one we're going to talk about today is a little bit different, but it's more common than jumping off a cliff. My mission is to eliminate back pain from the planet. From the planet. We can do it. We know it can be done. If you have back pain, you can be better. And you don't have to be a little bit better. You can be a lot better. You can be 100% better. This is for educational purposes. All right. 24 vertebrae. In between each vertebrae, there is a disc. This video is about what causes the herniated and bulging disc. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. There's two things that happen. Number one, repetitive stress. Bending, the way you sit. Sitting actually causes overloading of the disc, especially if you slouch. It causes more problems, okay? So there's two things. Repetitive stress, bending, 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 and then that stress over time accumulates. So you can bend a little bit and not have a problem, but if you keep bending, then you're going to start to have a problem, because what happens is the fibers of the disc is like a jelly donut. The outside, there's thick fibers called the annulus inside the jelly. Okay, the jelly is what herniates out, but the disc is where you start to have the annulus is where you start to have the pain. Now, there are what we call laminations, where parts of the disc come together. It's called the lamina right here. And what happens is, through repetitive stress, and as it accumulates, meaning you do more of it, okay, if you do it 10 times, you're not going to have a problem. But if you do it 10,000 times, you're probably going to have a problem. So it's chronic, constant loading and unloading of the disc in a way that adds more stress to the fibers. Well, what happens is the fibers start to come apart. And as they come apart, that's called delamination. You can see it's right here. It's delamination. And what happens is the nucleus starts to migrate. I'll show you that in the next picture. I'll show it to you now. Whoops. Okay, the nucleus starts to migrate. It'll migrate out. It goes in the direction as a result of the load. Okay? Whoops. So you get the delamination of the fibers, the nucleus starts to migrate, and then sometimes it'll tear all the way through. But here's the key. I don't want to make this confusing. It can migrate, and very often you can not have any pain. So what that means is it's getting weaker, and you don't know it. because the pain fibers in the disc are on the outer portion of the disc. There's no nerves on the inside. These little dots here are technically where the nerves are located in the annulus. So the accumulation of the stress over time with the migration of the nucleus, you don't always feel it. It's not always painful. Why? Because it hasn't gotten to the point where it's aggravated those nerves yet. But it's tearing. Slowly, slowly, slowly tearing. And then what happens? One day you do something, and you tear the annulus. And that tearing of the annulus will cause the disc to bulge out, and that will start to pinch those nerves. So there's two types of pain you get. You get the mechanical pain of the pressure, but you also get the pain as a result of the nucleus touching the nerve. Some studies equate the nucleus touching the nerve like putting battery acid on the nerve. Okay, it really aggravates and causes an acute inflammatory reaction. Causes a great deal of inflammation. That's why you can herniate your disc by picking up a pencil. Pencils inherently aren't very heavy, although this one's probably heavy, but a small normal pencil isn't going to be very heavy. And it's not the pencil, it's the bending and the twisting causes those fibers to tear, and when they tear, that's when you start to have the problem. Okay? The overloading of the pressure from the bending causes weakening and delamination of the outer fibers of the annulus, and the nucleus starts to migrate through. And as it migrates through, it'll start to push out a little bit, and sometimes as it pushes out, it'll push on the nerve. As it pushes on that nerve, it becomes painful. It's aggravation of the nerve. But also what happens is it tears all the way through, and when it tears all the way through, that's when you start to have the pain because the fibers are torn, the fibers where the nerves are. That causes pain, but then the disc, as it pushes out, starts to aggravate the nerve. It's like battery acid on the nerve. So what causes it? Repetitive stress. Okay? It accumulates. You get weakening of the fibers. You get weakening of the annulus. You get delamination. You get nuclear migration. You get little tears. And those tears, what it does is allows for that nucleus to migrate all the way out. So how we fix it by reversing that process, taking the pressure off and getting the nucleus to move back to the inside. Okay? So we have the ability to reverse that process and get it to move back in. It takes time. Everybody wants it to happen in a day. It does not happen overnight. Very often these types of problems, this is a herniated disc right here, might take years to happen depending on how it happens. But this is torn all the way through and the nucleus is pushed all the way to the outside. We are able to get it back to the inside. It does happen. Slowly over time we can get the nucleus to migrate back in. Okay? But here's the key. How do you prevent it? Or once you're better, how do you make sure it doesn't come back? Repetitive stress that accumulates over time. There are power lifters that have herniated discs that can go back to powerlifting again. Why? Because they don't repetitively stress in a flexed position on the spine. They maintain a neutral spine. The key is to maintain a neutral spine. Spines are designed to move, but they're not the big drivers, meaning they don't drive all the motion. You don't want the spine to do all the motion. You want the spine to stay still. Okay, so how do you avoid it? Less bending, lifting, and twisting. Sometimes you have to do it, but a lot of people bend with their spine instead of bending with their hips. You have to be trained. You have to train yourself. A lot of back problems come from bad habits. Number one reason you have a herniated disc is bending, lifting, twisting in the wrong way. That's a bad habit. We all do it. I did it for years and years and years. So we have a 10-step process that eliminates this. One of these is to eliminate the cause by avoiding what is aggravating it. You know, we eliminate the cause by taking the pressure off the disc, which allows for the nucleus to move back in, but more importantly, you have to eliminate what's aggravating it. What's aggravating it? bending. I talk to people every day, and we talk about this on the videos every day, and they're still a little confused, and doctors are confused. They're getting different information from different doctors, and sometimes they're getting the exact opposite information. That doesn't help you. Okay, the key is to avoid the cause, which is the bending. It's not hard. You have to train it. So, like this video, subscribe to our Facebook page, share this information because people need to know we can help them. People need to know what they're doing wrong. And comment. Leave a comment, and leave a nice comment. Leave whatever comment you want. Doesn't bother me. All right, so call this number, 844-577-7329. I realize the number above is different. Why? I don't really know.